In the quiet of a distant forest, a young woman named May walked alone. Her slow steps cut through the mossy path, while the wind whispered through the ancient trees. May's dark eyes, once filled with light and curiosity, were now shadows of a pain that she carried deep within her heart. Her journey had no specific destination. She simply walked to escape from her past. If you too have had a similar experience and are looking for inspiration, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories of rebirth and personal growth. May grew up in a small village surrounded by forests, a community where the warmth of family was the root of everything. Her mother, Lin, was a sweet woman who told stories under the stars, while her father, Jian, worked hard to protect their home. With her younger brothers, Han and Min, May lived carefree years, running in the meadows and playing in the rice fields. But fate, as often happens, had different plans. One night, when May was still a teenager, a group of mercenaries attacked the village. Chaos spread. Desperate screams mixed with the crackling of flames devouring the houses. May tried desperately to save her brothers, but was helpless in the face of violence. Han was captured and taken away, and that moment marked her life forever. Guilt tormented her. She had failed to protect him. From then on, May began to withdraw into herself, distancing herself from her loved ones. The pain stifled every smile, and the light in her eyes slowly faded. Years later, unable to face the weight of the past, she decided to leave the village. "I must find peace away from these memories," she said to herself one cold autumn morning, saying goodbye to her family with a silent hug. If you have ever felt that sense of guilt that seems unstoppable, leave a comment and share your experience. It will be a way to reflect together. May wandered for weeks, through mountains and valleys, looking for a refuge from the pain she felt in her heart. Each step seemed to take her further away from the memories, but at the same time, closer to an inner truth that she did not yet understand. Along the way, she met many people, but she avoided any deep contact. Her heart was too wounded to open up anymore. One day, while walking along a clear river, May stopped. She looked at her reflection in the clear water, and what she saw shook her deeply. The woman staring at her from the river was no longer the carefree girl she knew. Her face was dark, marked by pain and loneliness. "Who have I become?" she wondered, feeling a knot tighten in her chest. At that moment, a soft voice reached her from behind. "You look like you're carrying a rain cloud above you, my dear," an old woman said. May turned to see a slender but strong figure with long silver hair and a gentle smile. Her name was Xian, a sage who had lived in the forest for many years. May felt drawn to Xian's presence, as if she were a light in the midst of her darkness. Despite her reserved nature, something in the woman's calmness compelled her to speak. They sat together under a large tree, and May began to tell her story. She spoke of her family, of the tragedy, of her escape from the village, and of the pain she could not let go of. Xian listened in silence, nodding in understanding. When May finished, Xian spoke in a calm voice. "Life takes us down paths we often do not understand. We cannot control what happens to us, but we can choose how we respond. Suffering, my dear, is part of our experience, but it does not have to define us. Your pain can be transformed into wisdom if you learn to accept it and let it go." May listened intently, but the concept of letting go seemed impossible. "How can I let go of the pain for my brother? It's haunted me for years," she replied, her voice shaking. You too can try practicing mindfulness and let Xian's words resonate in your heart. It's a process, and you don't have to do it alone. Xian smiled softly. The pain doesn't just go away. We carry it with us, but we can choose not to let it consume us. Buddhists teach that everything is impermanent, even suffering. Nothing lasts forever. You have to live in the present, recognize the pain when it comes, and then let it go. Meditation can help you cultivate this awareness. May thought about those words. She had never practiced meditation, but something inside her told her she had to try. She decided to stay with Xian for a few days, learning the basics of meditation and how to focus her mind on the present moment. The first attempts were difficult. Every time she closed her eyes, memories of the night she lost her brother washed over her like a wave. Tears fell silently, and May felt helpless again. But with time and Xian's guidance, May began to find an inner calm. She learned to acknowledge painful thoughts without letting them overwhelm her. One breath at a time, she began to feel the weight on her heart lighten. The forest around her seemed to reflect her inner change. The colors became more vivid, the sounds clearer, and every little detail of nature seemed to envelop her in a peaceful embrace. One day, while meditating near a flower meadow, May had a profound insight. She realized that her pain was tied to attachment. She had clung so tightly to the memory of her brother and to her guilt that it had not allowed her to heal. "I have lived too much in the past," she thought. "Maybe it's time to live in the present, just as Xian taught me." This is the power of meditation, recognizing attachment and letting go of pain. If you want to learn more about how to get started, don't miss our upcoming videos. Subscribe now. That evening, May decided to leave. She said goodbye to Xian with gratitude and continued on her journey, carrying with her not only the teachings of meditation, but also a new hope. The journey took her to a Buddhist monastery high in the mountains. There, among the monks, she found a new spiritual home. She learned the art of detachment, compassion, and gratitude for every moment she lived. After months of practice, May felt that her heart had finally healed. It wasn't that the pain of losing her brother had disappeared, but she had learned to live with it, to not let it dominate her existence. The monks, with their patience and wisdom, helped her understand that suffering is not an enemy, but a teacher. When she was ready, May left the monastery and returned to her village. Her return was a moment of great emotion. Her family, moved and full of joy, welcomed her with open arms. May was no longer the young woman oppressed by grief, but a spiritual leader who had found peace. Over time, she began to share the teachings she learned in the monastery with the villagers, teaching them the importance of mindfulness and compassion. Every morning, May woke up at dawn, meditated under the large tree in front of her house, and breathed deeply, remembering that every moment is precious. Despite life's challenges, she now knew that suffering could be transformed into wisdom. And so, in that small village on the edge of the forest, May became a source of light for all who sought peace. Her story of pain, loss, and rebirth resonated with the villagers, and her spiritual journey inspired all who met her. The serenity she had found radiated around her, touching the hearts of all who were ready to listen. If you too found inspiration in this story, share it with those you think might need it. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on more stories like May's.